This is like one of my golden platinum pieces of advice. You are gonna have to treat yourself like a zoo animal. Yeah, that's what I said. And like, contrary to what you might think, you also love the foods that are good for you. Just trust me on that one. Hi, welcome to my kitchen, where we are going to finally kick off a brand new series called ADHD 101, where from one ADHD disaster to another, I'm going to help you turn your life into less of a disaster. A lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about in this series might also be applicable to autism or to basically any other kind of thing that you might have that makes it so that you have less energy, or that you're not as great of a planner, or that you just like struggle with structuring your life. And I'm going to be basically sharing all of the things that I've learned in the last how long has it been since I was diagnosed? Let's say it's been about 4 years since I got my ADHD diagnosis, which means that for most of my life, I was not even aware that I had this and was just goofing around, trying to not die. And ever since I found out that I have ADHD, I've been able to build systems and find solutions to problems that I was facing. And I've genuinely turned my life around 360. So if that's something that you also want to learn, if you're like, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, I just want someone to tell me what to do. Hi, I'm here to tell you what to do. And the first thing that I'm going to tell you is that throughout this series, it's going to be really, really important that you actively listen to the things that I'm telling you. So if you haven't yet, open a notes app or grab a piece of paper and a pen, because you're going to want to write down the things that I'm about to tell you. Because we both know that if you're just going to watch this and not actually put anything down, that none of this is actually going to stick. And you might as well not waste your time watching this. So make sure that you take those notes. And if anything clicks for you and you're like, ooh, actually, I have another piece of advice that would be really fucking helpful, put it in the comments. Like, let's share. Like, let's make this a whole shared learning experience thing. With that being said, today's topic is food, which is something that a lot of us with ADHD like really struggle with. I received a DM on Instagram as a response to me sharing my food on my stories. By the way, shameless little plug. If you want to follow me, you can do that right here. And basically they were like, I'm neurodivergent too, and I really struggle with feeding myself, and I just would love to know how you do it. And I got really, really excited because my own journey with food has been so turbulent. Like, I went from disordered eating to a full-ass eating disorder to loving food, hating food. It was a complex journey, but I feel like I finally found my rhythm. Basically, by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to feed yourself in a way that is much less stressful, more consistent, and we're gonna try to make it actually fun. So gone will be the days of forgetting to eat, of forgetting your vegetables in the fridge and having them rot, which is something that has happened to me way too many times. Without any further ramblings, let's get into it. And again, make sure that you're taking those notes. First, I'm going to go over some core principles. If you don't want me to bore you with this, then feel free to skip ahead. The first major point when it comes to like basically any of my ADHD systems is to work with your brain and not against it. What this basically boils down to is that we are not going to try to be normal. Like, we're not going to be doing the things that everybody else does. We're going to do what works for us. With that being said, if I say something in this video that you're like, it doesn't work for me, then please share your alternative in the comments, because we're all different and I'm just going to give you the advice that works for me. But if you have another pro tip, then the next one is we are going to go for sustainability, not perfection. We just want to set you up in a way that is going to work in the long term. I'm not going to give you some hacks that you're going to like try out for a week and then you stop doing it again. Like, we actually want to create something that is going to last you and like future-proof this shit. So if you are eating, then that is good enough. And you don't have to make these like Pinterest perfect looking things. I do, however, have a system of making these gorgeous, stunning looking salads that is actually really not as hard as it looks, but that kind of deserves its own entire video. So let me know if that's something that you would be interested in. My third principle is to simplify as much as possible, meaning we're going to reduce the amount of steps that we need to do. We're going to reduce the amount of decisions that we need to make and reduce the chance of us just like forgetting things, because that's probably something that we keep running into and that we want to like actively eliminate. And finally, we want to keep it fun. I am someone who loves food and I really enjoy the process of cooking. And food is something that can be so freaking fun, but it's also something that can be absolutely horrible if you feel like you just can't get it right. I bet that there are a lot of you watching who are like, I hate cooking, but I hate cooking because I feel like I'm not good at it. So if I, with this video, can bestow upon you a little bit of the sense of joy and whimsy that comes with cooking, then I will have reached my goal. Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. I'm hilarious. So the first thing that I have to say, it's not really a hack, it's more of a principle, and that is that for any of this to actually work, food is going to need to be a priority for you. Something that I really learned the hard way is that I actually cannot blame my ADHD for forgetting things that I didn't put into the important starred folder in my brain. All of the following hacks are only going to work if you actually make food something that is important in your life, and it really should be important in your life. It's literally one of our basic human needs. It extrapolates itself into the rest of your lives. You not eating well is actually feeding into the rest of your ADHD symptoms and just making the cycle worse. Once I made food, sleep, and just my basic human needs a priority in my life, all of the other things like my productivity, my mental health, etc., they all started to get better. So that's why I wanted to start with food, because it's such a key element of our human existence on this planet. Like, if we're not feeding our earthly vessels, then our spirits are not going to be able to thrive either. So before anything else, take meals and food out of the optional category in your brain, like right now. Okay, hack number 2 is going to be meal prepping. Now, before you roll your eyes, because I know you are doing that right now, and before you go like, oh, but that just doesn't work for me, it actually is the only thing that's going to save you. Like, let's be real, you don't have the energy to cook every day. My favorite way of meal prepping is just cooking dinner in bulk. I live on my own, and whenever I cook dinner, I cook enough for 4 people. And not only does this save me time throughout the rest of the week, it is also way more cost efficient for me as a one-person household. You're gonna store the leftovers either in the fridge or in the freezer. I usually store mine just in the fridge because I will eat the same thing over the course of 4 days. But if you don't want to do that, in my previous system, I would cook 2 meals ahead of time and store half of each in the freezer and half of each in the fridge, and then I would alternate them. I also knew that I would get bored if I was eating the same thing every day. If that's you, then cook 2 things ahead of time. But if you don't have a lot of energy, if you can only cook like 1 thing at a time, then just cook the 1 thing and eat the same thing for 4 days. Something else that I do is to prepare certain ingredients so that all I have to do is assemble them later. This is my current system for making lunch, but this is a thing that I'm going to make another separate video about because it's actually quite in-depth. The next hack is to habit stack your meals. This one is for all of you who keep forgetting to eat. If there's one thing that you do each morning that you don't have to think about, attach the habit of eating breakfast to that thing. For me, my core habit that I always have had in place is brushing my teeth in the morning. And I have attached basically every single other part of my morning routine, including eating breakfast, to me brushing my teeth. And I've attached the habit of taking my medication to my breakfast because I know that I cannot take my medication without eating something. It will just cause me to get really nauseous, so I want to avoid that. That has basically helped me to create this new habit of stacking breakfast onto taking my medication every single morning. It really changed my life when I did this. For lunch, I have habits stacked in the way where my lunch is sandwiched in between 2 work blocks. That is also at this point autopilot for me. When it's 1, I have ended my work block, and my reward actually is having lunch because I have a lunch that I really enjoy. This is where the enjoyment part comes in. And the same thing goes for dinner. Dinner is honestly my reward at the end of the day. And I also will watch a episode of a show that I really like at the end of the day while I'm having my dinner as like an extra source of dopamine. So I really ignore the advice that I have to be eating all of my meals mindfully, because if I have to have my dinner while I'm sitting here at this table, not distracted by anything else, I'm not going to look forward to it as much, which means I will not eat. And something else that really makes this work is the fact that I have meal prepped my dinner so that all I have to do is put it in the microwave, sit down, and just decompress. The next one. Okay, choking on my own spit. Something that I've been doing since I started to live on my own is buy frozen meals, and I make sure that these are healthy and that these include like a protein, a carb, and a vegetable. I also have these like microwave bao buns just for like snacking. Like I just have a couple of things in my freezer that I can easily pull out and just like microwave or just heat up in a pan on days where I'm sick, on days where I've run out of my food. And especially if you're someone who like also struggles with a mood disorder, this is like one of my like golden platinum pieces of advice. I'm especially a fan of like the frozen ones that come in like one of those bags, because of the fact that they're also nutritious. Here's the little caveat. You shouldn't be reaching for those out of convenience. Sometimes they're like nice and then you want to eat those because they're nicer than what you've cooked, but like because then you're going to run out of your emergency stash. It's your little safety net for when your system fails, because you know how your ADHD works, right? In the vein of like not going for perfection, but going for sustainability. This is what's going to keep you from essentially not eating. Like you're always going to eat if you have a backup. Okay, another hack that actually is something that my parents taught me that I freaking love. When you run out of a certain food item in your kitchen, write it down on a grocery list immediately. Something that is really great for this is to have like a little blackboard or a little whiteboard in your kitchen. But if you don't have that, I just always have like a little notepad out, but also I have a notes app on my phone. The reason why I have it on my phone as well is because that means that I never forget to bring my grocery list to the grocery store when I'm going. That's something that I was really struggling with, but I never leave the house without my phone. It's hard to make this completely ADHD proof. Like I still oftentimes forget stuff, but when I forget something, I will just go back or ask one of my neighbors if I can borrow it. When it comes to grocery shopping and like forgetting things at the grocery store, don't beat yourself up over it. Like don't get frustrated. A lot of people who don't have ADHD also do this. Like my neighbors also come to my house to ask for like little grocery things that they need to borrow, and they don't have ADHD as far as I know. So try your best. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Something that I see a lot is ADHD people forgetting that they have vegetables in the fridge and then the vegetables going bad. Something that has really saved my ass from this exact thing is vegetables that can be stored outside of the fridge. I just put them outside of the fridge, and I always make sure that I cook on the day that I also get my groceries. So the vegetables that I buy, I process them immediately, or I don't ever put my vegetables in the vegetable drawer. The vegetable drawer in my fridge is where the condiments go. That's one of those things where it's like, don't try to be normal. Don't try to put your vegetables in the vegetable drawer. Put things in there that are going to survive the vegetable drawer, not the thing that's not going to survive it. I've seen it happen too many times. It's also happened to me way too many times, and it's just not fun. Okay, we're back. And we're going to continue because I was talking to you guys about food, but I had to eat in the meantime. If the angle has changed, I'm sorry. The next thing that we're going to talk about is what to eat. It's very simple. I only have one rule: eat what you like. That does not mean eating junk food, as you know, that gives our brain a lot of dopamine. And I think that's what a lot of us do, even though we know we shouldn't. But what I mean by this is that you are going to have to treat yourself like a zoo animal. Yeah, that's what I said. In the sense that you know what a monkey likes. A monkey likes bananas. You know what an elephant likes. It likes leaves. You know what a lion eats. It eats other animals, right? So what is the thing that you eat, because it's not only something that you like, but it's also something that is nutritious for you and is not going to make you sick. You wouldn't give an animal food that is going to make it sick or that it doesn't like, so don't do that to yourself either. To sort of like make that more concrete, food means nutrition, and it also means enjoyment, because, you know, animals also enjoy the food that is nutritious for them. And like, contrary to what you might think, you also love the foods that are good for you. Just trust me on that one. I'm gonna give you an example from my life. I really don't like brown rice. I know that it's better than white rice because it has more fiber, but I just don't like the taste of it. And I'm not gonna feed myself something that I don't enjoy, which means that I'm going to get the fiber that I need from something else, like, for example, chia pudding or nuts and like vegetables that I eat. I just switch it out so that I'm still getting what I need without having to eat something that I hate. When I eat a curry, I eat it with white rice and I make sure that the curry is stuffed to the brim with vegetables. Same thing goes for pasta. I hate brown pasta. I'm just not going to eat it. So I eat my white pasta, but I add a lot of vegetables into my pasta sauce. You see where this is going? It's like, do not force yourself to eat foods that you hate, but hone in on the foods that you know that you like that also have a certain nutritious element that you need. The same thing goes for like the recipes that you're eating. Where I'm from, it's really normal to just eat a plate that has like a carb, a protein, and vegetables, like just those three things like next to each other. But I just don't enjoy it. It's like really bland. I personally prefer Asian food, and I just love things that have a lot of spice and flavor to it. So that's what I eat. I didn't just copy all of the recipes that I like inherited from my parents. When I started to live on my own, I actually started figuring out what were meals that were both nutritious and also things that I just enjoyed eating. Because I'm not going to eat something if I don't like it, and it's just going to make it a chore, and I'm going to resent eating, and I'm going to hate cooking, and it's a whole disaster. Also, with that all being said, if you would like me to make a video on my favorite ADHD-friendly recipes that actually taste good, the way that I prepare them that makes it way less complicated than it seems, then let me know. I would love to do that. Something I also wanted to talk about under this umbrella is for those of us who have problems with texture and therefore avoid certain foods that we actually should be eating. I personally have this problem with fruit. I just really hate most fruits. It always catches me off guard, you know, like it's just never the same. This means that I consume my fruit differently. I either consume it blended up in a smoothie, or I just eat the fruits that I do eat. Like, I do eat berries, so I just like make sure that I have those. And one of my favorite things to do is actually, if there's something that you don't like the texture of, but you are fine with the taste, find a way to prepare the food that actually works for you. I have a great example of this actually with broccoli. Broccoli boiled is just not that great. It gets bitter, it gets too mushy. One of my favorite ways to prepare broccoli is actually to steam it. It's much less bitter for some reason, and the texture is also just so much better. If the taste is just the thing that bothers you, then like don't even bother. Find something else that has a similar makeup of nutrients. If you know that you're someone who struggles with food in general, make sure that you have a daily vitamin supplement to make up for any of the nutrients that you might not be getting enough of. My last piece of advice is for those of you who are mindless overeaters. This is something that I struggled with for the longest time. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. The thing that actually turned this around for me was starting ADHD medication. ADHD meds are an appetite suppressant, which for those of you who have like another kind of like eating disorder is something to watch out for. But for me, my main issue was overeating. So yeah, for me, I just want to be transparent that medication is something that really helps me with this. You obviously just deserve to have like the foods that you enjoy. You deserve to have your favorite crisps. You deserve to have that ice cream. Like, we freaking are here to enjoy food. We're here to have a nice time. And in order to help yourself like enjoy those things in moderation, I recommend putting them like in a small bowl and like putting the rest of the bag back in the pantry. And also, one of the things that I really realized at some point is that sometimes I eat when I'm actually thirsty, because I have a hard time interpreting my bodily cues. Like if I haven't eaten for hours, obviously my stomach starts to rumble and I know I'm actually hungry. But my thirst cue is actually really similar to my hunger cue. So if I have already eaten, or if I'm eating something and I'm like, wow, this feeling is just not going away, there's a solid chance that it means that I haven't actually hydrated myself properly. So keep that in mind when you are just like snacking and it seems like there's no end to it. Try having a glass of water and see what that does, because sometimes I also like the analogy that I'm like a plant. I need like water and sunlight. And sometimes I forget to water myself. I feel like I've given you a lot of things that you can like work off of. The whole point of these like loose hacks is to slowly integrate them into your life. It's a matter of trial and error. That's also how I got to this point. So don't expect yourself to just like wake up tomorrow morning and be perfect at cooking. I recommend, like, if you've been taking your notes, there were probably some things that stood out. Pick like 2 to 3 of those and start doing them next week. Or if 2 to 3 seems like it's too much, just pick one thing and kind of go top down in terms of importance. Like if you are just like not eating at all right now, implement the habit stacking thing first. If you're literally starting from scratch, what I want you to do is to go on your computer or your phone or whatever you have, look up 3 recipes and try those out, cook them in bulk, and like just go from there for dinner and just like start one step at a time. I really don't need you to get overwhelmed. I don't need you to like be doing a bunch of chaotic shit, because we have enough of that in our lives. So start with one thing that you're going to implement this week, and please let me know how it goes. If you have more questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram or put a comment here. I try my best to get back to you as soon as possible. Also, let me know what your favorite piece of advice was. Honestly, I just want to have a conversation with you guys. Like if you're watching this, I just would love to hear from you. Let's just start a conversation. I would love for this to be interactive. With that, I think I'm gonna just end this first episode, and I very much look forward to seeing you in the next one. Okay, bye. Da, 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 da.